Hello, my honeys. How are you? This is Kamara with Rooted Futures. Thank you so much for joining me here for this reading, for this pick a card reading. If this is your first time joining me here, I am a psychic medium that channels spirit and works with my ancestors who sit at the feet of spirit. So I want to thank you for joining me here. Some of you may have followed me here from my TikTok account, and I really appreciate your continued support. We are going to do a pick a card, and I wanted to talk a little bit about a few changes that have come up for me. And if you want to skip ahead, I am going to put in the description below some timestamps that might be helpful for you to do that. But if you're here for just the short story, I want you to know that late September, my ancestors really directed me in a more, how do I want to say, intentional way to do a few things to make some changes in my life. And I really I think they had been peripherally kind of trying to prepare me for some changes. Intuitively, I would hear some things, ideas that they wanted me to think about. But right at the end of September, my ancestors were like, we want you to get on a plane and we want you to go to this place that we think that you should live in for a while. And I had been kind of doing that all summer. I thought I was going to move out of the country, out of the United States, and they redirected me to another place. And so I took a plane. I spent 4 days in this new city, and I had the most grounding experience. Everyone that I met, even though I know it was probably just an anomaly for that weekend, everyone I met was really excited by the opportunity for me to live in this city. They really loved living here. They thought that I would enjoy it too. It's a place that's highly creative. As some of you might know, I'm an artist as well as a spiritualist. And it was just calling me in a number of different ways that I couldn't really put a finger on it, like indefinitely. I had actually traveled here a lot with a family member of mine when I was young, when we would do cross-country trips, and it just came to my mind. I even had an astrocartography reading. And if you don't know what astrocartography is, it's kind of like the person looks at your birth chart and they tell you what would your life be like in certain cities or places around the world. And what's really special about this particular place that I've just moved to is that it's on my Venus line. And if you know anything about Venus, most people think about Venus and they think, oh, love. And of course, I love the idea of love myself, but it's also a line of creativity, of prosperity. If you're into traditional African religion, it's the line of Oshun. I associate Oshun with this line. And it's so interesting because when I moved here, there's a huge Latin American kind of culture here. And the neighborhood that I moved in, it's actually named after Guadalupe. And, just one synchronicity I wanted to mention was that when I looked to see what African deity was syncretized to Guadalupe, it was Oshun. And I was like, oh my God, this is totally, there's just like little things that I'm discovering about this place that really have made it the place that I needed to be for a number of reasons. So as you know, when you're moving, there's a lot of things that are getting shifted, donated, sold, all kinds of stuff. I was packing books, going through things. And when I packed something, I found this small little picture of my grandmother. I'm going to try to put it close, but I don't know if the camera is going to blur it. This is my grandmother when she was probably, I don't know, in her late teens, early 20s. And she was born in 1922. She's no longer with us on the 3D plane. And this is my father's mother. And I just have always thought that this picture of her was so beautiful. It's just like her posing on the living room floor, you know? Anyway, it fell out of a journal that I had. And I said, oh, wow, my grandmother's here. I was unpacking, and I said I could really feel her energy all week. And I just had this little picture on my desk. And I was like, okay, she's here for this little journey of mine. And it's funny because I started to remember an old story of her picking up and leaving our family hometown and moving to New York. And so I think she had a similar experience in her lifetime of relocating to a totally different place, you know, kind of on a hunch. So, yeah, that's just something personal I wanted to share. I'm still discovering this place where I'm living. I'm really loving what I am discovering, and I'm loving just how my ancestors are unfolding this experience for me. So thank you for taking a listen to that. I told some of you that I would talk a little bit about what I've been up to, because I really quite literally have not been on social media since late September. And, you know, I've been watching things as they're happening globally. I've really been supporting everyone in their efforts. And, you know, I've been really thinking about all the changes that are happening worldwide. Just the things that we all want to shift. And as we know, evolution and revolution, it can be intense. It can be violent. There's things that our whole human consciousness is wanting to change on this earth. And so, you know, these movements, while they are, again, intense, I find them highly inspiring as the human collective really takes a stand and wants to protect those who need protecting, institute peace wherever we can, and wellness. So I just want you to know that if you are, you know, kind of feeling like, you know, things are in chaos, know that you're in company, and I really do support you energetically. And I'm sharing with you whatever my ancestors want me to share. They've been a little bit more directive with me lately, and they've just been kind of like, we want you to kind of do things in a more orderly way. We want you to focus on this move. So I've been kind of quiet, but definitely not absent. So let's get to this reading. What is it going to be about? Well, your birth contract. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of this term, Akashic, but there's this idea, this theory, for some of us, we really believe in this, that we were all born with a record of our lives. And this record is held in the Akashic records, and it's in a cosmic kind of library where if we went into some guided meditations, which I'm sure you can find some on YouTube, that will lead you through a guided imagery of going through your Akashic records, accessing them, and seeing what kind of information is there for you. So this reading is going to be kind of based on that. The whole idea that there's a birth contract that we, I don't know if you want to say we sign, but we commit to when we enter into this 3D. I believe that each and every one of us has a grand purpose. whether you want to think about it as a global purpose or a family purpose or a community purpose. It can be big, large, it can be something that's really deeply personal. Whatever it is, it contributes to our web of life, knowing that all of us humans are connected. All of us are serving a greater purpose of creating a world that's equitable, peaceful, loving. And we know that this is part of our human design to grow and evolutionize to make such a world possible. So our birth contracts really outline in many ways what we're here to do. And so let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to be trying to tap into with this reading, and then I'll go through. It's going to be a pick a card. So if you haven't done a pick a card before, you're going to see what group you resonate with, and then you'll go to the timestamps. But let's talk about what questions we're going to answer here in regards to your birth contract. Number one, we are going to ask about the overall energy that was present at the time that you were born. Number two will be the past life lesson that you will seek to resolve in this life. Number three will be your spirit team that's assigned to you. Number four is going to be the gifts and the blessings that are here for you to utilize as your tools. Number five is going to be the shadow work that you will want to either recognize or you're currently doing to help you and fulfill this birth contract. Number six is going to be your earthly medicines, the earthly medicines that are here for you to utilize as part of your healing, part of your family healing, lineage healing, or even your community healing, global healing. And then number seven is going to be a general tarot reading. We will do a general tarot reading to tap into what you need to know right now. This is a timeless reading, so whenever you're watching this, it's going to be tapping into what is it that you need to know right now based on this birth contract. And lastly, we will pick a card for you from the Cosmic Light Language deck, and we're just going to get like a simple word or affirmation or just something for you to kind of close out this reading. So I hope you're interested in this, and let's jump right to your groups. So group number one, we have the Strength card here, and I'll put this up close so that you can see it. The Strength card. Group number two is the Justice card. And group number three is going to be the Empress. Now, regardless of your gender, these are the cards of the group. And know again that you can pick one of these cards, one of these groups, or you can pick all two or more. What I want to say here, and as every reader will tell you, you are the master of your own life, and the tarot is here to help you do some confirmation or affirmation of your own divine inner wisdom. So please only take what resonates. Don't try to make something fit that doesn't fit. No, we're doing a collective reading. So some things in a group may resonate with you, other things may not. This is for a group of more than 3 people, and possibly hundreds, depending on who watches this. So just know that, and I really appreciate you, my honeys. I really have missed doing these readings, but I also was very aware of listening to the guidance of my spirit team, and I really hope that you are doing well. I really embrace you, and I really love reading your comments. I really want to ask you right now, if you feel inclined to follow this channel, click that bell so you know when I am uploading a new reading. and give me some comments. I'm trying to find my setup for doing these readings. So let me know if this is something that resonates with you. Okay, my honeys, take care and let's go right to your readings. Okay. Hello, group number 1. Thank you for joining me. This is Kamara with Rooted Futures. So you chose the Strength card. Very beautiful card. If you want to know what deck this is the Ethereal Visions deck. So this is the Strength card. And what we're going to do now is go through and pick all of your oracle cards, and we'll pick the beginning. We'll save the tarot cards for last and do that shuffle live. But let's go ahead live and pick all of your cards that are going to tap into your birth contract. And if you missed the questions that we're going to go over, we'll take each deck and let you know what questions are going to be answered by each deck. If you want to skip this card selection process, there will be a timestamp below in the description for group number 1 where you can go directly to the reading. Okay, so let's start first with the overall energy of the time in which you were born. What was the overall energy? I'm getting this card right here. The overall energy. Next, we are going to go to the past life contract that you were seeking to resolve in this life. What in your past life needed to be resolved in this life? So that's your past life card. Next, we are going to ask Spirit about your spirit team that was assigned to you for this current 3D life. So your spirit team. And I think this one right here for your spirit team. Next, we are going to pick oracle cards for your gifts and your blessings. Think of this as characteristics that were assigned to you for this life. I'm being told to pick 3 here. Those characteristics. Next will be the shadow work. Let me kind of straighten that up a little bit. A little sloppy here. Okay, next will be the shadow work, group number 1, that either you are currently doing, currently aware of, or the shadow work that will come into focus for this life. So that's the shadow work card. Next will be the earthly medicine. We're going to use these beautiful herbal wisdom cards. It's called herbal astrology cards. I really love these cards. What was the earthly medicine you were born in that will either help you with your healing, your family lineage healing, or even your community global healing? So this card is kind of your medicine. And lastly, because we'll save the tarot reading for a live shuffle during this time, we're going to pick your closing message. And I got this right away. This is the Language of Light deck. So that'll be your closing message, group number 1. So this is your shuffle of the oracle cards. And if you go to the next timestamp below, we will get into your oracle cards, and then we'll shuffle, answering each one of these questions in regard to your birth contract. Thanks so much. Okay, group number 1. So you chose the Strength card. And why don't we do a little energy check here? I've seen many other colleague spiritualists, tarot readers do a little bit of an energy check just to see if this energy of this card is resonating with you right now in terms of your birth contract. Sometimes everything doesn't have to match, but sometimes in this energy description, it can help you figure out if you were kind of between two groups or more, what kind of resonates for you. So you chose the Strength card, and what I really love about this card in the traditional tarot, it will have the figure of the person reaching into the mouth of the lion and kind of with their full hands right in there with that in that lion's mouth. And there's something about the strength of being able to call in and your true power. There's something about you, group number one, you may see as a theme in your life is the proper use of power in your life, whether that's what you're experiencing within yourself or what you experience with others. There may have been and continues to be this place in life where you see themes around the use of power, how to exercise patience when it comes to power, being compassionate, while also being passionate about life, like the balance of those things. Some of you may be a Leo. The Strength card is connected to the sign of Leo, which is a fire sign. You don't necessarily have to be a Leo, but there is something about the quality of Leo in this card. Being able to find the balance of being Leo reminds me of that energy that's always on stage, that's out in life, that's kind of in the front of life, where everybody's seeing this energy. Everyone is interacting with this energy in a very overt way. Everybody sees Leo in their glory, and there's a way in which Leo too can be so attractive to people just because of that. Whenever you look at lions, they just seem so majestic, and there's something about the energy of people with this sign even. But like I said, you don't have to be a Leo, but there is something about your life that you may find that you may always seem to be more in the forefront of life. You may have natural leadership skills that you may be continuing to develop. You may find that when they ask, can someone lead us, quite literally, whether that's in a school project or somewhere in work, they'll say, I need someone to take the lead on this project. You tend to be the one that the supervisor will select, the organization has the most confidence in, and being able to see something from soup to nuts. That's kind of an old saying, that an old boss of mine used to use. Like, can you implement something? Can you see it all the way through? So you may have those qualities that people trust that you can get the project done. You can come, if you were enrolled in college, you're going to graduate. There's something about you being able to complete a task. And so that might be a quality as well that you have. There's also something here about this card that really speaks to courage. You may find that your courage happens as you're able to exercise your power in a certain way. I think that, if you've ever watched that movie, it's an old movie, The Wizard of Oz. The lion in that particular movie was on the journey to find and connect with its courage. And I feel like that might be something that is playing into your own birth contract, just the whole theme of courage, overcoming something. Many of you, group number one, that are in this group, you've had to overcome maybe some life challenges, things that a hand that was dealt to you that wasn't quite, I don't know, spirit saying fair. I mean, the word fair is kind of problematic sometimes, because there are things in our lives we just simply have to learn. But you may find that you've overcome a great deal of adversity in your life by just taking control of life. And there's something here about that word control. It's almost like a double-edged sword. Like you may have had to learn about controlling certain aspects of your life, and then there's other aspects of your life where control, it was just out of your control, and learning that lesson too. You may struggle sometimes with your anger, your rage, your resentment, due to past struggles in life. You again, for some reason, this word fair is coming up. Maybe when you were younger, maybe even right now, you look at things as like being fair, not fair. That's not fair to me. That might come up as part of your language. And I think Spirit is saying here, in terms of your birth contract, in terms of the general vibe check, you're someone who's really looking at connecting with your emotional intelligence so that you don't just externalize all of the challenges that you've had in life, that you're learning how to go in the jaws of that lion, that majestic beast, and be able to exert some of your own control over life. The things that you can control, you're learning how to do that, but you're also learning to let go of the things that you cannot control. And for some of you, I think control issues, maybe perfectionism, might be a part of that too. You're learning how to relax that, because it's caused a great deal of anxiety in your life. You may suffer from anxiety. I'm not here to diagnose anyone, but I think it's important to understand that some of that control can show up because you have anxiety. And so I think that's the general sense of like, you're growing, you may be developing, you may be growing into a place where you can be relaxed around the idea of control. Because I think in this card, as opposed to the traditional depiction, there's a certain relaxation that this figure has now. That the opening of the jaws has already happened, and now there's a certain kind of coexistence with your power. There's a certain kind of relaxation that's happening here. So that is the general vibe check for this group number 1. Let's go to your oracle cards. So again, each one of these oracle cards, we're going to kind of answer a question or dive into certain details of your birth contract. So let's go to the bridge here. Oh, wow. The bridge immediately is about connections. And your birth contract, this is kind of the overall energy at the time that you were born. When you were born, group number 1, and again, take it as it resonates. You may have been born into 2 different cultures. So some of you may identify as someone who is multicultural or biracial. You may have had that experience of being born. It doesn't necessarily mean that you had to be biracial or multicultural. You may have been born to parents who migrated somewhere to a whole different land, a different culture, and you might have been born in that culture, although your parents were of the same culture or race, they may have migrated somewhere and you were born and you served as kind of a bridge for your family. You know, whether you were first generation, second generation, you were merging two different cultures. I'm getting for a few of you, for many of you, you may have parents that just have some kind of difference in them that you served as kind of a symbolic bridge to, if not a literal bridge. You know, you may have had parents who were of different religions who decided to get together, or like I said, different races, different cultures, nationalities, ethnicities, you name it. One parent could have had a disability, the other parent didn't. You know, there's something that I think in general about your parentage, there was some differences there. Or if your parents kind of were the same, there was this whole experience of them being somewhere completely different from the land that they were birthed in. This bridge is also pointing to, at the time that you were born, the energy that you were being born into, there was this overall energy of saying yes to the differences and not othering each other. And there may have been, even when you were growing up, you were seeing ways in which either how your parents kind of had to relate to differences within their relationship or between the extended families, or you had to see and witness how your parents navigated living in a completely different culture, and in ways that they either tried to retain their own culture or in ways where they may have lost some of the practices of their native culture. So there's something there about you having that experience as well. The bridge also says, you know, those who wander are not always lost. And there could have been this sense within your family that your family was going to strike out on a new adventure, was going to go to a place where there was more opportunity. So you may have heard that as a theme, even if you were from this, your family never left the same country. They may have moved to a different state or a different province. You know, there's something there where your family kind of uprooted themselves and went to a different place, or again, that it's indicative of their relationship. I think last, what we want to say about the energy at the time that you were born, it was very shamanic. Shamans tend to bridge two worlds together, the spirit world and the 3D. So you could have been born into a family system that had practitioners, spiritual practitioners, who may have been called shamans. They may have been called something else. You know, shamans is kind of a word that specific cultures use that title, but you could have had spiritual practitioners in your family that did some real traditional medicine. That even could have been different from the culture that you're living in, and there might have been some navigation around spiritual or religious practices, especially if your family was living in a new land, a different culture. So there was some of that as well. I would say lastly about this card, the bridge, I think the energy that was present while you were born, and maybe even family members might have said this to you, you were the one that brought us together. You were the baby that brought the two families together. It could even be as simple as your families having a long time quarrel, extended families, and then you being born brought the families together, kind of softened that family quarrel. So take it again where it resonates, but there's something here about connection. Now, you know, also we know that if there's a positive, there's also can be a negative when it comes to the energies around when you were born. When you were born, there could have been strife where you were born. You could have been born into a place where there was some conflict happening at the same time. There could have been fights between different communities, different races, different ethnicities. So again, take it where it resonates here, group number one. But there could have been this whole idea of forcing connections or trying to make connections happen between two desperate groups that kind of took like a wrong turn, or it may have led to battle or war. So sorry if those things were happening when you were born. There could have been some, what I want to say, dis-ease around the place that you were living at the time you were born. So that's the energy, overall energy of when you were born, group number one, or around your birth contract. So let's go to the past life lesson that you may need to resolve in this life. So we have our little past life cards here. Royalty. So immediately in a past life, you may have been, because if you look here, it says distant relationships, depossessed or a loss of title. It says here direct descendant, also illegitimate. So I'm kind of getting, in a past life, you were also dealing with this action of connection. We know a lot of royal families in the past, to strengthen their alliances, they would marry their children from different lands. They may have been related in some way, or royalty of one land marries the royalty of another. I kind of get the sense, because of that bridge card, that you, group number one, may have had to leave your own homeland to make a connection through marriage to another royal person. This may have, what I want to say, this may have been, I'm kind of getting reminded of that Bridgerton kind of takeoff where they talked about how the queen was married into the royal family. It's kind of a problematic show for me in some ways, but I did watch it, and it's kind of reminding me of that theme of, like, she was married because maybe her own royal family needed the money or needed the alliance, and I think that there was something in your past life, group number one, where you had to make some personal sacrifices. Royalty of any country, any religion, a high, what do you want to say, a hierarchy, a religion or a country where there was hierarchy, where there were obviously very rich, wealthy class of folks. You may have been part of that. And on the back of the card, it kind of talks about a few different scenarios here. One is just the whole lesson and the theme, because we want to link this past life lesson to what you're probably trying to resolve in this life right now. The theme of conformity and being passive. Maybe even that theme as we go back to the strength card, feeling like you may not have had a lot of power. Maybe that's a theme that you're dealing with in your life, like how to have the courage, how to use your power, how to even call in your power. This could have been from a past life, group number one. And just the whole idea of, like, how do you do that? Especially when it comes to companionship or friendship even. How do you exercise power in those relationships? Even though I look at this Roman numeral, I believe this is 38, XXXV111. It's 38, and 38, if I'm not mistaken, that comes to 11, right? 8 plus 3 is 11. And 11 is a master number, meaning that the master number is talking about, again, connection, union. So even in that bridge, there's this numerical quality of you bridging together things, connecting things, and that kind of links back to this friendship, this companionship. There may be a theme in your life from your past life about how to exercise power, especially in relationships. Very interesting. Okay, so let's go to your spirit team. Who's here to help you, to guide you in this life? Because it would be good to kind of get the sense of their energies here. So you have Archangel Raphael, and then you have Archangel Jeremiel, and then you have Merlin. So Raphael, I think, is here to help you with this, with trusting your intuition. There's something here about, in order to be in your power, you have to trust that intuition. You have to trust your gut feelings. And so I think that Archangel Raphael is kind of teaching you about intuition and how it's really connected to your own, I'm hearing your own mental health well-being. There's something again about the theme of anxiety coming up, and learning how to not second guess yourself all the time, not to distrust your gut. And so Archangel Raphael, again, look at that number 2, group number 1, that 2 is showing up again, whether it's 11 or the number 2. It's a deep connection. Like Archangel Raphael is showing you how that is going to be your medicine. You see that that the energy is wearing a caduceus, which is the symbol of medicine. So it could very well be that your medicine in life, the medicine that you're here to cultivate, to learn from this birth contract, and your spirit team is going to kind of facilitate, is learning about how to trust that gut, work with your gut, work with your intuition, especially when it comes to making decisions, using your power. And then we have Merlin. Merlin's this like magician, right? Magic, manifestation, alchemy. Being able to, when I think of alchemy, it's like, turning things to gold, precious metals, right? But also, how do you do this, like manifestation in your life? How do you bring things towards you without necessarily having to always be controlling them? Is there a part of your life where you can allow things to come to you? Again, it's pointing back to that strength card, right? Group number 1, where if you go to that traditional card and your hands are in the jaws of the lion, it's almost like that exercise of power there. But this card is showing what it looks like afterwards when you release and let go of power, when you know that your power from the inside of you, when you know your power as a divine inner part of you, you no longer need to manipulate the lion. You've already manifested, and you've done an alchemical shift of what it's like to live with your power in, the Buddhists would say a right use of power even. And then we have Archangel Jeremiel. I think here, group number 1, your spirit team, especially Archangel Jeremiel, is really going to help you to make use of your dreams. What kind of dream work? This might point to dream work that you could do. It may just be pointing to the wisdom of your dreams, using that dream imagery to help you in life. You may have a special, if it is in your dreams, you may have some sort of like psychic visions that you have. You may be, what is that? where one of the clairs is that you see visions. And so I think here it's like this spirit team is helping you to fine tune a lot of your gifts that you receive from spirit, whether it's manifestation, whether it's your dreams and visions, whether it's healing. Some of you may identify as being a healer of some sort. And so again, I think that's how your spirit team is holding you right now, group number 1. So what are the gifts that you've been born into this life with that are part of your birth contract? We have Don Juan, and it says here, spotlights your positive seduction qualities. All right. We have the Poet, which is about expressing your soul insights and symbolic language. And then we have, I'll move this over a little bit, the Liberator, freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, releasing negative thought patterns. So when we think of like the gifts and the blessings that you were born with through this birth contract, I think right away there's something about you, group number 1. And again, it points to some of those Leo qualities. You're very attractive. You when you walk into a room, there's something about you. It could even be as simple as you have a beautiful head of hair, because a lot of Leos, that's kind of like that association, a physical association. Again, you don't have to be a Leo, but there's something about you that catches people visually. Like when you come in, maybe you're taller than the average people in the room. Maybe you have this just beautiful curly hair that's just, for some people, they might use the association wild, exotic, there could be something about you that catches, even if it's not the physical. It's like energetically, I think people are very attracted to an energy that you have, group number 1. You could be very seductive. It could be even your eyes. I'm kind of getting, because I'm seeing hair here and hair here. There's something about your hair. It doesn't have to be long and curly. It could be just a different color. It could be just some way in which it complements you. It makes you stick out in a certain kind of way. I think you've also, group number 1, had to learn about these seductive qualities so that you don't kind of go into the shadow part, which is kind of it says here using the power of romantic attraction for your own personal agenda. I think here, and this is something that some people might say about the shadow part of Leo energy, is that there could be a sense that Leo knows that they are seductive and sometimes can use that seductive energy to get their needs met. And so you may have, over the years, you're maybe even trying to figure that out now. I don't, a lot of us might be in different places in this group, but there's something about you learning how the right use of that attraction, and knowing too how to express that attraction in a way that's very beautiful. Some of you may do spoken word, some of you may be poets. You have a definite lyrical gift, whether you're a rapper or a singer. I'm seeing someone who definitely is on stage. I mean, it would be surprising if you didn't have Leo somewhere prominent in your chart. You don't have to, but there's just something about Leo all over this reading that's giving the idea. Ooh, sorry, I shook the camera. There's giving this idea that you're performing, you're on stage. And what's very interesting here too is it's connected to this liberator. It's almost as if you have a message, group number one. If you are doing spoken word, if you are doing some kind of poetry, there's this sense here that you're speaking about things that are really important. You're bridging communities. You may even be addressing things that about two different groups that need to come together. So again, it's that bridging quality. These are some of the gifts that you came in. You're seeing ways to link people together, to have conversations happen. If you're not a performer, artist, creative, you may be in some kind of work that is helping to bridge communities. You may be doing some kind of, what do they call that work where you're doing a lot of negotiations? You may be an ambassador of some sort. There's something where you are utilizing your talents to have people talk and come together around their differences. And that can be a number of things, group number one. Sorry if I keep shaking the camera. Okay, so let's go to the shadow work that you might be doing in this life. You may have already done it, you might be working at it. It's very interesting. You have the wisdom and play card here, group number one. It reminds me of the temperance card because there's just this pouring that's happening from one cup to the other. It says here, our intuition knows more than we do. Now, what I find interesting about this card is it's talking a little bit about how do you use your intuition? Again, going back to that bridge card, even going back to, what were we talking about? Intuition. Oh, we were talking about that even with your spirit team. You know, group number one, there's a way, and that temperance card, it's, even though the number's 3, it's like 2 cups pouring into each other. Again, I feel like you have this quality. It's almost as the cups pour into each other, there's this bridging that's happening of energy, right? It's like there's energy coming from one vessel into the other. Again, that bridge is so strong here as even the shadow work. Now, when I think of the shadow work of kind of the bridge, it can be giving up on trying to find connections. There may have been a moment in your life, it may even be currently, where you're really finding it challenging to connect with maybe a group or a person that's different from you, who has different points of view, maybe different politics. There, especially right now, if we look at what's currently happening while I'm filming this, it's a timeless reading, but there's just a lot of strife that's happening globally right now, and people are in very difficult conversations when it comes to what's happening in Gaza right now. So there's like this sense of the shadow work about this is kind of feeling locked into one position and not being able to see, because you could see that the figure here is blindfolded, but blindfolded with an illuminating material. It's also like saying, even though I can't see everything, I want to remain curious. I want to know more. I want to keep giving my energy. So some of that shadow work that you're going to experience, it says wisdom and play. Play could be quite literal, like not to take everything so seriously, to relax the idea of having to control everything, going back to that strength card, and instead exploring others, exploring beliefs, doing this exploration even creatively. There's something about finding value through play. And play could just mean not so dogmatic or so serious, but to look at commonalities. Even There's a way in which comedians, now this is just maybe very specific for a few of you, you may even be a comedic, like someone who does comedy and is able to talk about really tough subjects through comedy. That would be like a form of play. So let's go to the earth medicine that could be used for healing. Oh, we have Rishi. Rishi, we've got the sign of Jupiter. We've got the sign of the sun. Rishi says retreat here. There's something here about the whole idea of the Rishi mushroom being something of the call to slow down, the call to maybe go within, especially when it comes to a lot of intense energies, especially if it comes to intense work that you might be doing in the community, to understand Rishi is here as a medicine to remind you to restore yourself. They say that in China, Rishi was considered a medicine of immortality. It was also said that the Taoist monks in China, they really prioritized Rishi. They thought of Rishi as the oldest medicine that was used by these monks. It's said to stabilize the head, provide mental clarity. It's also said to be good for your memory, for vitality, for your nervous system. So, and there's something about it being connected to Jupiter, like really expansive energy when it comes to going within, for tapping into your inner wisdom. So Rishi's pretty available as teas. I've had it as a tea. There's this one tea I had that I used to love, and it was mixed with chocolate, like cacao, and oh my god, it was so good. I forgot it's kind of an expensive brand of tea. It comes in like a metal container and it's like round tea bags. Let me know in the comments if you know which tea that is, but it's so warming, it's so delicious. So again, if you look at it as an earthly medicine that you can utilize for yourself, for your community, it's one in which the community also has time to retreat, not also just go with all the issues, all the intensity. Where is it that we can restore ourselves? Where is it that we can take a break? Where is it that we can go within and tap into our own divine inner wisdom? So Rishi is giving that to you. Now let's go to what it is that you may need to know right now. I'm going to shuffle these one more time. So sorry about the noise. But let's go to what does the tarot want you to know right now in this current moment? What is it that you need to know? Group number one. I really feel like there's these themes of control, of bridging. It's a lot of symmetry here, group number one. So in terms of your birth contract, we have the Hermit in reverse. We have the Five of Pentacles in reverse. And we have the Chariot in reverse. It's interesting because I think these cards, when they're in reverse, it's giving me the sense of like, in some ways, it could be one or two things. There needs to be more of an action of going within, and your birth contract is really calling for you to honor that part of the energy too, which is to go within, to seek your own divine inner wisdom, because the Hermit is about going within, seeking the light. They hold that lantern within. And so when it's reversed, it could mean one or two things. You need to go more into that energy, or you're coming out of it. You've gone within. You've seen, and I really want to lean into the fact that I think you have gone within. I think you have tapped into your divine inner wisdom, or you're in that process right now. And as you're doing that, there's this sense of the Five of Pentacles. It can always point to the energy of feeling like you're on the outside, that there's a lot of lack in your life, that you're not receiving even the material abundance that you thought you would receive. And I think for some of you, group number one, there was this sense of being on the outside of something. Again, I want to go to that energy of the bridge, because the bridge here is really pointing to connecting binaries, connecting two disparate groups or of energy, even if not people. And I feel like when you're not tapped into this as a power, your bridging power, it can kind of feel like you're othered. Especially if we go back to the beginning of the energy reading, some of you may be considered multicultural or biracial. There may have been, without feeling the power of that bridge, you could feel like an other. You could feel like you're on the outside of things. And I think in the past, that Chariot energy, it made you want to run away from situations. It made you want to go out on your own or leave situations. And I think now there's a different energy here of wanting to get into the work of what would it look like for me to bridge those identities and come up with something that's new, that's nourishing, that's really for me. So right now your birth contract is either pointing to, because I'm kind of getting a few of you might be in different places with this. Some of you may be feeling like you're not included, you're on the outside of things, and you're needing to go within and tap into your power. Why others of you are starting to realize, no, there's something really divine about who I am, and I can take this on as bringing a community together, even disparate parts of that community coming together. Like, no, I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to do this work. It's my purpose. It's what I'm being called in. Spirit is saying to take this card upright, the Magician. And again, I think this is where Merlin is coming in. Again, remember Merlin? It's like you have the power. This card even is showing you have the power. There's some psychic power you may have, some great intuition if you don't identify with having psychic powers, that you can use in your work. You may already be using that energy in your work, group number one. Anything else, Spirit? Yeah. There's this sense of when the Page of Wands is here, there's a message coming forward about an action really soon that you can take. I think for some of you, especially if you're coming into a realization that your purpose, your mission in life is to bridge, then I think that you are getting ready to be directed by Spirit on what next steps to take, group number one, in this very powerful work that you're doing. Can we have one more card, Spirit? Is there one more card, one more message for us? Again, this Eight of Cups is in reverse. If you have been contemplating leaving a situation, you could be contemplating leaving a job, an organization, a school, a neighborhood, a city, a country. There's something here that Spirit is wanting you to take a second look at. Spirit is saying not to throw in the towel on some work that's been very challenging for you, or maybe a situation that's been challenging for you. There's this idea that you should really second, you have free will, group number one, obviously, but I think spirit and your birth contract are pointing to an alternative to just leaving, to just hanging it up. At the bottom of the deck is the Queen of Pentacles. Regardless of your gender, I think that this bridging motion, this energy, this part of your birth contract, it actually has to do with you even making more of material, coming into your own material manifestations. Your spirit team talks about manifestation as well. I think that was Merlin too. There's something about utilizing this gift to set you straight in life. It came in reverse, kind of. So some of you may think, this work that I'm doing, it's not leading me anywhere. But I think you have to reconfigure your own mindset about the work and really make it yours, group number one. When you do that, I think you're going to find that this work does support you. It can help you build the life that you've always wanted to build materially. You may have to do some work around betrayal. Some of you may have, because Spirit said to look underneath, there may have been an incident in the more recent past that left you feeling on the outside, made you feel like, oh, I just need to leave this situation. And I'm getting here, group number one, that Spirit wants you to like really get out of your head, go to your spirit team for support. And again, there's that energy of like, should I leave? Some of you may find that you actually do need to leave. You do need to start over again, fresh slate, and there's that reinforcement again with the Three of Wands. You may be looking at new opportunities, and for some of you that might be the case. You might need to do that. There's this sense, we're going from the bottom of the deck, Five of Swords. There's a sense of like, okay, I really can't make this situation work. I can't bridge what I thought I could bridge here. And so for some of you, this is about, and we're going to end with that Temperance, because Spirit is saying we're going full circle now, back to Temperance. Pouring into yourself, pouring into others, knowing when to do that, knowing when to pour more into yourself instead of others, and when that balance can be achieved. That's the Temperance. That is where Spirit is saying you will find your greatest lesson is in practicing that. For some of you, this is definitely about relationships. How do you achieve that balance so that you are always in alignment with your highest good? So group number one, what's the closing message for you? Soul love, look at that. So if it is about relationships, and I didn't really touch deeply into that, this is, for some of you, there's going to be a sense of like going back to the drawing board in a relationship and really trying to bridge those differences. For others of you, this is about tapping into your soul, that intuition. What is it that's going to lead you to a place of love? If you didn't listen to my intro, I talked about living on the Venus line. Living on the Venus line in your astrology is about that soul love. It's about cultivating that from within yourself and also with others. So that's the wrap up here, group number one. What a powerful birth contract. And I can see it's one where there could be some challenges if you don't feel supported, if you don't feel like you have people who have your back. But I'm hearing right as I say that, your spirit team is like, you're not alone. We've got you. Tap into us. I'm hearing that from your ancestors. I'm hearing that from your spirit guides, your team. It's like really, if you're going through challenging times right now, group number one, in terms of this purpose, in terms of the work, tap into your spirit team. Find that soul love and let it be your source. So I'm going to wrap it up here, group number 1. I want to say thank you for taking a moment to listen to this reading about your birth contract. If it resonates with you, would you mind following this channel, leaving a comment below? I would just really love, even if you just left the number 2 as a comment below, that would be very helpful, because I would know that you really resonated with this whole idea of bridging. And group number 2, I just really am thankful that you're here on this earth doing this work. For me, you are the diplomats, you are the ambassadors, you are the ones, the activists that are really helping to bridge different groups and identities, and I really admire your work. So thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next reading. Take care. Hello, group number 2. So this portion is going to be the selection of your oracle cards, and there will be a timestamp in the description below if you don't want to go through this shuffle with me. But we're going to go through, each one of the questions regarding your birth contract, and we will shuffle the cards. So number 1, the overall energy at the time that you were born is going to be represented by these archetype cards. And you have the Siren. Okay. That's the overall energy, group number 2. Now we're going to go to the past life. Ooh, I didn't even shuffle that. I don't think I'm going to take it because I didn't actually have these situated in my hands yet. So what was the past life lesson that you're seeking to resolve in this life? Group number 2. The past life lesson. Animals. Very interesting. Next, we are going to look at the spirit team that was selected for you in this life. I'm going to choose 3 cards here. I think this one too. For your spirit team. And let's just take a quick look at them. You have Baba Yaga. Very interesting. You have Commander Ashtar. Ooh, and Archangel Michael. Very interesting. Very powerful, group number 2. Now let's go to the gifts and the blessings that you're going to be using as a tool in this life. I'm going to choose 3 cards here as well. It's coming out, and let's take that one. And let's take a quick look at those. So we have the Vampire. We have the Liberator. That was in group number 1, too. And the Beggar. Lovely. And let's go to the shadow work that will be present. Either you're working on or you haven't worked on. Broken Dreams. Very powerful card for shadow work. Sorry if I hit the camera. Okay. And what about the earthly medicine? That will either be a healing mechanism for you, your family, your community. Motherwort. Love that. And since we're going to do a live tarot shuffle, we're just going to go to the closing message. But you know what, group number 2, I'm not going to reveal that just yet. We'll get that closing message at the end, but it has been selected. Okay, so that was the shuffle for your oracle cards. I'm going to get these set up and we'll come back and start your reading. Thanks, group number 2. So, group number 2, you chose the Justice card. And we're going to do a little bit of an energy check. I've seen some other colleague spiritualists, tarot readers do the energy check just so that if you felt like you were between two groups or more and you weren't sure what pile to pick, this energy check may help you make that decision or bring some clarity. Doesn't have to, but it could. And that way you could choose another group if it doesn't seem like it resonates. But there's also the rest of the reading, so you can decide to do what you want to do with the energy check. But let's talk about the Justice card for a minute. You know, right away, the Justice could be about Libra energy, because Justice holds those scales. So you may have Libra prominent in your birth chart. You don't have to. Libra is an air sign. So there's just immediately this connection, because you see here, Justice also holds the sword down. There's a sense of being grounded in the decisions that you're making. Also looking at, for me, if you're into traditional African religions, there's the deity called Ma'at. And Ma'at is also that same energy of balance, coming to just decisions. What I want to say here about the Justice card too is about understanding that the truth has many different angles. And ultimately, you are going to follow the truth that works for you. And so justice isn't only about receiving justice, it's about doing justice to your own divine inner wisdom. So this Justice card, it points to the idea that not everyone is always going to be satisfied with the decisions that you make. And they're your decisions. And so sometimes there will be someone who will not be satisfied with the decisions that you make. But as long as you are really honoring your own inner truth, that is justice for you. And it's being able to stand firm in those decisions, group number 2, regardless of how others may feel or how others may respond. This is a card about balance again. It's about equity. It's about fairness and decisions. Fairness even came up in group number 1. So if you were curious about group number 1, you may want to explore that a little bit, because that was also kind of a download that came in for group number 1. But regardless of that, justice is the number, 11 too. So when I look at that, 11 came up in group number 1. So again, if you were thinking about group number 1, you might want to check that out. You don't have to. But there's something here about being honest to yourself, not lying to yourself. That might play into a theme in your life of making sure that you're honest with yourself. And maybe for some of you, this could also be that you've had trouble in relationships with stating truthfully how you feel. It may be hard to express your truth, or maybe in the past it's been hard to express your truth. Maybe there's been themes of codependency where you just decided to take the easier way of just, relating to someone because you thought it would be easier to do what they wanted to do, or to shape yourself the way you wanted to shape yourself. And some of that could come from early childhood trauma. I'm not going to sit here and diagnose or go through a lot of psychological things, but sometimes in early relationships with our caregiver, we learned to not honor our truth. And so, later on in life, we have to learn how to stand in our truth, understand that our truth is essential. Living in our truth is essential to our own well being. So, that might have been something of a theme that you've had to explore, group number two. This may be a theme that you're really working on right now in this moment. But that sword is saying that, when it's turned down, it's like, this is my truth. My decisions have been made. I'm not hearing other arguments. I've made the decision, and it's for my best interest. And some of us were raised in I want to say family cultures where serving your best interests was looked down upon or frowned upon, especially if you're in the feminine energy. Doesn't mean that you have to be in the feminine energy for this reading, or you could be identifying in your feminine energy right now. But for those who might be in femme embodied or identify as women, you could have come from a family system, a religious system, a cultural system where women weren't really allowed that, how do I want to say, that option of being able to honor their own truth. So you may have even had to spend some time deconstructing from old programming that said that you didn't get to decide, especially in your best self-interest. So that is the general kind of energy of group number two. You can decide if that kind of resonates with you, or you may want to choose another group. But we're going to go on to your oracle cards now. So I'm going to put that one over to the side a little bit. There we go. So the overall energy, because we're talking about your birth contract. And again, the birth contract is really about, it could be connected to that Akashic record. And that Akashic record, it keeps all the records of all of our lives. And so this current life, there was a birth contract. And that birth contract, we're going to go through several questions to see and dive into more details of this present life birth contract that you committed to when you were born here. So the overall energy at the time that you were born, remember we got the siren, a little bit of a hair here, my own hair. Okay. So the siren, I identify heavily with the siren. And, this is the mermaid. The siren has this quality of being the temptress, right? The seductionist, the femme fatale. So the overall energy when you were born, now I'm only getting this for a small group of you, but it came up even in the shuffle. You may have been born out of, and this is just, it could be personal to you, but you could have been born in a situation where your two parents were in some kind of forbidden relationship, a taboo relationship. They could have had an affair. You could have been born out of a relationship that kind of had that energy to it, where somebody says, I was seduced by this person, or there was just a lot of sexual energy. I'm getting for a really small group of you, but I have to mention this. You may have been born to a parent that was part of the sex work industry. Like you may have that background in terms of the energy that was happening when you were born. That's not everyone, but I wanted to mention it in case someone here needed to hear that. The overall energy might have been that you had one or both of your parents really identified with the energy of the siren. Other than that, I would say that you were born in an energy that maybe during this time something was happening with the planet Venus during this time. When you were born, there was just kind of this sexual energy in the air. It's really, Spirit is showing me that something was happening during that time. If you're older, there might have been a sexual revolution happening. That could have been someone who was born in the late 60s, 70s, maybe even some part of the 80s. There was this sexual revolution happening. I mean, really in the 90s, that could have taken place more in terms of like gender, but there could have been a time where you were being born where maybe between the genders there were shifting roles. There might have been more expression sexually during the time that you were born. There might have even been like an opposite kind of energy that was happening, group number 2, where there was some repression. So, take it where it resonates. There might have been sexual repression happening during this time as well, like a lot of judgment about the sexual choices that people were making, maybe even some repression around fertility laws, so kind of take it where it resonates. You may have been born with that energy happening either societally or within the community or family. What I want to say about the siren is also the siren represents the deep unconscious. So there might have been an energy this time where there was a lot of deep dives into the unconsciousness. Water represents that deeper place where we may do things that we're not fully aware of. They're not in our conscious mind. So the siren too is about a call, an insatiable call for desire, for passion. And like I said, some of the negative energies could be more about things that were taboo, adultery, betrayal, wreckage even. Like there could have been a sense of betrayal that might have happened in your family or extended family that really impacted around the time you were born. There's something about the siren energy too, which is the divine feminine, and using that energy that is often suppressed. And there may have been around your birth a sense of liberation for one or both of your parents, especially sexually, sensually. So that's the overall energy around the time you were born. Definitely that siren mermaid energy. Now let's look at the past life. Sorry for shaking the camera here. The past life. It says animals here. Let me move that over here. In a past life, and whether this connects or not, there's this sense that because we're looking at a past life that still kind of follows you into this life in terms of needing some resolution. There's something about you in a past life. You were a huge lover of animals. That might still be the case, group number 2. You really believed in the sacredness of animals. You might be a vegan. You might be a vegetarian. You may have just some really strong views about the care of animals and their rights to live as human beings on this planet. Like you care about animals having their own sovereignty. And in a past life, you could have even been someone who just like part of their work, like a herder, you would have worked closely with animals. Maybe you were even raised on a farm. I'm getting a sense that in a past life, there's something about your relationship with animals. Here it's even showing that you may have suffered an animal attack in a past life. You may have lived somewhere really tropical, like in a jungle. There may have been this whole idea for you, group number 2, of protecting those that are really vulnerable, kind of as a lesson in life. those most vulnerable, those that are on the margins, I'm hearing, that might be even a concern for you now. Like, how do you protect those people? You might be a counselor, you might be an activist, you might be someone that really looks out for those who are most vulnerable. It could be children, it could be animals, it could be elders. Something about you feels like you need to take care of those who can't always defend or take care of themselves. So that is a past life theme that's kind of following you into this life, whether it's your work or your volunteerism or just in general how you relate emotionally to those who are vulnerable. Group number 2. So let's go to the spirit team that was assigned to you. They're very powerful if you watch the shuffle and the pick of these cards. We have Archangel Michael. I mean, come on, that is a very powerful archangel. And again, this Archangel Michael is about the truth, about protection. So again, there's a strong sense of you being guided to protect something or some people that are vulnerable. It could even be the earth, group number 2. Like, you could be an environmentalist. Whatever it is, because that kind of connects with animals too, nature. Archangel Michael is here, and that number 1 is saying, like, this is a huge part of your identity. It's a huge part of why you feel like you're here on this earth, why you have a purpose. It's because that Archangel Michael is here to kind of guide you in this work that you're here to do, especially if it feels like it's a part of your purpose, group number 2. You have Commander Ashtar. I mean, wow. Ashtar in the entire command. I don't know. I'm hearing there's this artist, he had this song called his name was Asterius. If you can find him on YouTube, oh my god, you should look this up. But he had this song called Spirit Rap. I think it was Spirit Rap, where he would reference Ashtar and the entire command, calling them in. You could identify as being a star seed. You can identify with the cosmos in terms of feeling like you come from a place that's other than Earth. But I also get a feeling that even if you feel like you're part of the cosmos, that you're part of a starseed clan, I feel like you have a dedication to the Earth. Like, you're here to help the Earth heal itself. You're here to do work that's specifically Earth oriented. What's really interesting here is Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga, if you don't know who Baba Yaga is, Baba Yaga was this old wise woman, sometimes depicted in the mix as being kind of like an old witch, kind of a little gnarly looking. Here she looks really, beautiful and in her power. She represented the wild woman, the witch that lived in the forest. And the story goes that a young woman came to her. I don't know if I'm going to remember the whole entire story, but wanted a teaching from Baba Yaga, wanted something from Baba Yaga. And Baba Yaga said, well, if you do these things, I will help you. And there's this sense of Baba Yaga kind of sending the young woman on kind of an initiatory type of journey in order to help her. And when the young woman kind of bypassed her own ego to help Baba Yaga, she received so many beautiful blessings. And so there's something about witches. Many people now, identify as being a witch. But back in the day, I think witches were linked to independent femmes. And witches have been known to operate in duality, meaning witches could say one thing, but their spirit guides and their own intuition may later change their mind to follow a different truth. And again, we're here with that idea of the truth, right? The idea of making decisions that are in your best interest, but also decisions that may change based on your guidance from spirit. And I think that is the energy of the witch. Baba Yaga is here to teach you how to honor your changing wisdom. Because life is constantly changing. Life is constantly teaching us new lessons. And one decision that we may have said yes to yesterday may be a different answer for tomorrow. And so Baba Yaga is teaching you about that duality, teaching you to trust spirit, teaching you to trust yourself and make decisions in your own best self-interest. Group number 2. So that's your spirit team. Now let's look at the gifts that you were born here in this life with. We have the liberator, the beggar, and the vampire. Again, very powerful cards, group number 2. The liberator came up in group number 1. So again, I'm just going to state connections as I see them. But the liberator is about freeing yourself from others, from outmoded beliefs, releasing negative thoughts and patterns. I think in relationship to you, the liberator is about living in your truth, group number 2, making decisions that are really based on your truth and your beliefs right now. Instead of, the shadow attribute is more imposing some kind of tyranny, like you have to do this, your decision has to be this. I think you are, in terms of the blessings that you come here with, you help people to see the benefit of living closely in integrity to themselves, like into their heart, more heart aligned, more truth aligned, authenticity. Now the beggar confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival, an awakened spiritual authority of humility, compassion, and self-esteem. Now, the shadow part of that is being so dependent on others that you really can't make a decision for yourself. So again, there's this whole idea of looking at what kind of decisions am I making just because they're based on my fear of survival or non-survival, right? And the beggar here, I think you remind people, hey, if you're working in a job that's so stressful, you're becoming sick, you can't take care of your family, you're going to be that person who's going to tell someone, listen, I really think that you need to make a decision in your best self-interest. Like this job where, because you think you're getting a paycheck, you're surviving, but you're actually becoming ill. Like you help people see some of the factual parts of what's happening, or you may have even saw that for yourself and you start to stand up for yourself and you make decisions that put boundaries in place, group number 2, so that you can live in alignment with your truth but also be healthy. The vampire, the light attribute of this is making someone aware or something is draining your life force. Again, I think these are all connected, because that vampire, it's you understanding, and I think you've had these experiences, group number 2, where you've really had, part of your birth contract is to understand how to create boundaries, how to understand when your life force is literally being sucked. I'm hearing like really strongly, some of you either are coming out of that, or you may be contemplating the wisdom of a particular career you're in right now, or you may be contemplating changing jobs. simply for this very reason. You're not able to live in your truth. You're not able to make decisions based authentically from your truth. If that's you right now, I'm getting a sense that you're really connecting with this birth contract. Maybe you were even drawn to this particular group and this reading for that very reason. You may be in a very, for some of you, I feel like it's a very intense decision around whether to stay with a job. For a small group of you, this could be a marriage or a relationship that is really testing your truth. Like I keep hearing, like it's really testing your ability to live in your truth, group number 2. I'm sorry if that's happening for you, but I also feel like you have the strength. You're coming through with making a decision that's right for yourself, group number 2. Let's go to the shadow work card, because maybe that's also kind of yeah, look at this, the broken dreams. I think this is such a powerful card when out of this deck. This is called the Lantern Oracle, in case you're wondering where this card is from. 23, it comes to 5. 5 is a highly transformative number. It means quite literally change. And broken dreams, it says underneath here, only you can accept or reject your dreams. Let me clarify that. I felt like I said that kind of weird. Only you can accept or reject your dreams. And group number 2, I think this is so all tied in with that Justice card and your characteristics here. The shadow work that maybe you have been doing or you're coming to do is to understand that maybe somewhere in your life you were living other people's dreams. You were supporting other people's dreams. And in doing that, it really messed with your idea of who you were, your identity. If you look in this picture, the mirror is broken. The egg here even, it's almost as if you are realizing the person that you thought you were, the identity that you thought you identified with, it was never yours. It might have been, I'm hearing for a small group of you, your career could have been decided by your parents. No, you're going to be a lawyer. No, you're going to be a doctor. And it had nothing to do with your passions. It had everything to do with survival. Again, we're looking at that survival, right? Theme. And there's something here about finally in the shadow work, understanding what was yours, where did you begin and end, and where did someone else, in terms of their dreams, their expectations for you, begin and end. For some of you, you're detangling that codependency. You're starting to understand, no, what is it that I want to do? What is it that's here for me? What is my purpose? Some of you may have wanted to be a veterinarian, but you were pushed into medical school for humans. You know what I'm saying? It's just an example. But what I'm seeing here that's even just much more relevant is just how strong a family's demands could have been on your life. And now you're looking at your life and you're saying, I've got to take it all back. My dreams have literally been broken. I've been living a dream or a life for other people. This could very well be a marriage that's coming to an end, or a relationship, a long-term relationship that's coming to an end. It could have been that you got laid off from a job that you really struggled with, a job that you didn't make decisions for yourself, a job where you felt a lot of injustice, only to be laid off, only to come to a place where you're like, goodness, what was that? And why was I participating in that? I'm really tapping into that for a small group of you, that you've really had to take a long look at your career, at your job, or at a relationship. So that shadow work is there for you. Now, what is the earthly medicine that could be very healing for you, group number 2? Well, of course, motherwort. I get a sense that many of you in this group identify with the feminine, regardless of your gender. And motherwort, it's coming through as a medicine for you to give you strength, to help you access your creativity. Maybe some of you always wanted to be an artist. Maybe there's something creative that you've always wanted to do, but you were told early on, you don't make money that way. Artists are always poor and starving, like whatever the stereotype was. And so that left you depleted of your creative energy. And if you look at this card, it's so powerful. Look at this lion here. Again, group number 1 might speak to you because there's this imagery of the strength card, and I think that was the opening card for that pile. So again, I'm just mentioning that connection. But motherwort, it's been traditionally the medicine of mothers, of women in general. Again, you don't have to identify as a woman, but it was often used to help with fertility issues in women. The planets that kind of guide this medicine is Venus and the moon, so very divine feminine. Back in the day, they would use motherwort for protection spells for mothers against the evil eye, to help the unborn stay protected. So motherwort has a real ancient protective qualities. It was often smoked. It might have been burned in spaces, kind of like an incense kind of thing. It helped with anxiety, depression, heart issues, but also on a kind of like psycho-spiritual level, it was about developing unwavering faith. It was the tool of the midwife. And that brings me to I'm hearing for some of you, whether quite literally or figuratively, you may be a midwife, group number 2. You may be one of those people that guides people through a journey. This could be even shamanic, but this could be quite literally in the area of birthing. You may be a midwife, but you can midwife people in a number of situations. And there's a strong energy here in your birth contract that there's something here about you. If you look really closely in this card, there's a certain kind of guiding. You see 3 images here. They're being guided. You may guide people in nature, on hikes. It's a number of things you could do that's midwifing an experience, group number 2, but that is intuitively coming up for me as something that's really strong in terms of energy in your birth contract. So let's go to the tarot, and then we'll close with that one card that we didn't take a look at, that closing message. But let's go to the tarot because we want to ask Spirit right now, like, what is it that you currently need to know? Like, what is it that you currently need to know based on, just what we've uncovered in your birth contract? What is it that Spirit wants you to understand right now in this current moment? We have 7 of Cups in reverse. What is it that group number 2 needs to understand in this current moment? We have the Page of Wands in reverse. And one more card. The Lovers is in reverse. You know, the Seven of Wands, that energy sometimes can really be about indecision, having so many options. But, you know, as it ties into the energy of your birth contract and some patterns that maybe you are working yourself out of or starting to recognize, is that sometimes we could feel like there's so many options, but really we know our own divine inner truth. And this card is talking about, instead of spending so much time ruminating on all the options, tap into your own inner truth. Tap into your own action. Page of Wands. What action am I going to take that's based on my own inner truth? How am I, with this Lover's card in reverse, it could go two ways. How am I not honoring the whole part of me? Because this card could be Gemini, and we know the two parts of ourselves. Or this could quite literally be a relationship. How am I honoring myself in this relationship with myself or with another? What else, Spirit? Yeah. Four Swords, it's showing that you're coming out of this energy, though. That you're really understanding the benefit of decisions that are made with you in mind, centering yourself. Sometimes, you know, people will say, oh, being self-centered is negative, but in your case, it's what you need to do. The Strength card is showing up in reverse too. It's that idea of tapping into your inner strength. And again, this card was in group number 1. Sorry if you hear my cat in the background. She's kind of tired of me doing readings. She wants to be played with. One last card, Spirit. Any last messages for group number 2? 8 of Swords. Again, I'm kind of taking this current energy as you finally breaking free from your own self-imprisonment, especially around a very important decision. I'm getting here, group number 2, that this decision will impact how you fulfill your birth contract. There's something about you following your own divine inner wisdom, making a decision for yourself that will help you fulfill your purpose in life, your birth contract. And it's like either you've done this already, you're about to do it, you're on the precipice of doing this. You're understanding here. For some of you, at the bottom of the deck, this is coming in fairly quickly for you. You're going to need to make a decision. For others of you, you're still debating on how quickly you need to do this, but it's coming in quickly for you. That 5 of Pentacles, I think, again, it's in reverse because I think that you are getting over the fear of, it might be a material fear, that survival fear, that you're finally overcoming that and you're saying, you know what, it is not enough for me to just make this salary and be unhappy, unhealthy in the rest of my life. I am going to take a chance. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to do the things. I'm going to make moves. This Chariot, Spirit is saying you can turn it upright. You can decide on a decision, on a path that really could turn your whole life around. That's what I'm hearing. Now, that Seven of Swords, there's just a lot of fear here or doubt here in terms of acting in your own best self-interest. I'm sorry for shaking the camera. And that is something that I think Spirit overall is saying you're going to have to take a leap there. You know, of course, there's free will, and you'll decide the timing on that or ultimately what you're going to do, group number 2. But it's pointing largely to you caring about yourself and the decisions that will work the best for you. The closing message. I can't say it enough, group number 2. Look at that. Authentic truth. That's been the whole theme, right? Spirit is showing me someone who maybe for a long time or since childhood has never been put first. And there's this theme now, maybe that's coming up as your birth contract, for you to put yourself first, to really look at your dreams, your desires, your goals as worthy of your attention. So that was the closing message. Group number 2. I see someone who's either already stepped into their power or they're going to. And for that, I feel very inspired by you. Because I know the strength that it takes to turn your life around. It's not an easy task. I wouldn't listen to anyone, including myself, that made it sound like it was an easy thing to do. It's not. To really start to refocus your life on yourself, for some people, it's a completely different worldview that they have to jump into. But I believe in you, group number 2. Because that birth contract, it's not lying. It's showing up here as you make that move, you may find your life completely blessed. But it takes that initial step, right? So group number 2, if you resonated with this, I would love if you left me a comment below. If you like the way that I read and you want to stay connected this way, I would love if you followed this channel, if you click that bell so that you will get notified. It's really a way for me to grow the channel. I would love to do some live readings, but I need about 1,000, I think, subscribers. So, you know, it's up to you, but I would really love the support. I really appreciate it. Again, I would love your comments and a thumbs up if you love this reading. And for here, I'll leave you. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to this reading. Take care. Peace. Hello, group number 3. We're clearing the energies right here. Thank you so much for joining me on this pick card. We are now going to get into the oracle card selection. So this is just the shuffle and the pick of those cards. If you want to forward to the actual reading, I'll have a timestamp below so that you don't have to watch this. But if you want to watch this, this is where we are going to pick the oracle cards for group number 3. Okay, so each oracle card corresponds to one of the questions that we're asking in regards to your birth contract. The birth contract in general is connected to our Akashic records. The whole idea that all of our lifetimes have already been recorded, and so is this present lifetime. So we're just tapping into what does this birth contract want to say more in detail. It's a general reading, so take what resonates. So the very first question we're asking or answering is, what was the overall energy at the time that you were born, group number 3? And so we're going to use these archetype cards and get what was the overall energy when you were born. Kind of feeling, oh, that was coming out, but I think it's this one. Ah, the river. The river. Okay. I'm hearing, take me to the river. Okay. The next cards we're going to pick, oracle cards, are the past life. So this is about a past life lesson that you will be bringing into this life to resolve. Interesting. It says current lifetime. Interesting. Okay. Next, we are going to figure out who is your spirit team. Who was assigned to you? What spirit team was assigned to you in this life, group number 3? We have Horus. I'm going to pick 3 cards here. We have Gold Goddess Lakshmi. Oh, cool. And lastly, we have Archangel Michael again. Okay. Archangel Michael showed up in group number 2 as well, I believe. Okay, so we'll put those there. Next, we are going to look at the gifts, the characteristics, the gifts that you were born in this life with that are going to assist you. Ooh, I'm sorry, hitting that camera. There is some gifts that will not be shared with us. And then you have the trickster, and you also have the damsel. Okay. Very interesting. We'll get into those. Sorry, everything's kind of twirling around. Okay, next would be the shadow work that you will, either you're currently doing, have done, will be doing. The shadow work. Ooh, I think it was this card. Ah, the lantern. Interesting. And lastly, there is the earth medicine that you can utilize to heal yourself, heal your lineage, even your community. And that will be elder. Cool. And lastly, we're going to pick the closing message with these light language cards, but I'm not going to turn it over. We're going to wait till the end to turn that over, okay? But we selected it and we'll put it to the side, group number 3. Okay, so your oracle cards have been selected. I'm going to gather these all up and then we'll go to the energy check and get into the reading. Thanks so much, group number 3. Be right back. Hello, group number 3. Thank you for joining me here for this pick a card reading on your birth contract. And again, that birth contract, we're looking at something linked to the Akashic records, where we're going to go in and take a more detailed, ask some detailed questions about the possibility of your birth contract. And why don't we start with what some of my colleagues or fellow spiritualists, tarot readers have been doing, which is an energy check. That we will check in with this initial card that you chose in the pick a card and just see if the energy resonates with you. It may be a way, if you were torn between a few groups, to make a final decision on the energy of the group. Again, it may help, it may not, but let's dive into that energy, and then we will go to the oracle cards. We already picked those, and we've done that with a timestamp before that timestamp for the final reading. So if you missed that, you can go back. Let's dive into the energy group number 3. So you chose the Empress, and the Empress, regardless of gender, the energy of the Empress is that of the mother. Manifestation, creation, things that really define that divine feminine. The Empress is talking about prosperity and abundance in your natural world. And the Empress as an archetype is someone who rules from this place, knowing that there's abundance, knowing that there's just an overflowing prosperity in one's life. The Empress is also connected to pregnancy, children, but a little bit more than that. It's that creative energy. And there's luxury. I mean, whenever you see the Empress card in many decks, there's an energy that's living in the lap of luxury. Pleasure is here. It can feel very Taurian to me, this energy. But the Empress is, in a reverse, there could be feelings of neglect. Maybe a disconnection from your creative force. There could be resistance around diving into creativity. There could be a sense of, in the negative, if the Empress is kind of reverse, there is maybe some shame around diving into pleasures, shame in living a very luxurious life or having access to privilege. So, there's that too. I would say the general energy, though, of the Empress is, all 4 of those queens, the quality of those queens, the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Cups, the Queen of Wands. There's a wholeness in the Empress. I say she, but this energy has experienced all of the qualities of those elements. And so the Empress is kind of, in a hierarchical sense, arrived, has made the best use of those qualities, and has a life that really reflects that. Someone who's understands themselves from an emotional standpoint, an intellectual standpoint, a sensual standpoint, a material standpoint. This is someone who's really done that work. You may be coming into that energy. You may be a little bit more mature in your life. It doesn't mean that, it can correlate with age or not. But you may be in a place in your life where many of your needs are taken care of. You've had a chance to, I'm hearing the word conquer those things. It's not really conquer, but achieve those things in your life. And now your life is settled. It's reflecting to you all the work that you have done, or the work you're currently doing, or it's showing up as a place, a goal for you. So we're doing a reading for more than a few people, so there may be different places that you're at in this energy, but there's a sense of knowing what will complete you, what will feel complete to you. Group number 3. So that is the energy. I'm hearing for a small group of you, you may be pregnant even, or deciding that you want to have a child. It doesn't have to be everyone, but there could be that decision that's coming into your life. Now, let's go to your oracle cards. And we asked several questions of these oracle cards in terms of your birth contract. Now, what was the overall energy at the time that you were born? We have the river here. You know, the river represents flow. It represents the current, the stream that you're in, the movement that you're in. Rivers also embody that place where you can go through and have a renewal, where you can cleanse away all the things you're ready to release. It reminds me of baptismal waters. I like to collect a lot of vintage photos, and there's a lot of vintage photos of people being baptized in rivers in the South. And these rivers were symbolized as places where you can experience rejuvenation. You can wash away all of your fears. You can wash away all of your quote unquote sins. These are, the river is that reflection of a new life, a new vision for ourselves. And it's kind of interesting here because you see that shadow of the horse. And horses represent so much action, so much movement. And there's again that flow of the river being a body of water, so it can represent our emotions too. I think at our best, we are experiencing in that river our grace, an acceptance of what was once was and what is now becoming. Sorry if you hear my little cat in the back. She's like tired of my readings, you know. She's like, hey, time for bed or whatever. So she's also saying hello. You know, the river too could be signaling some overwhelm. And I kind of got here, in a river, you never step in the same place twice. It's kind of like a book title. I'm not sure if that's the exact book title of Alice Walker book. Either way, I think the overall energy of when you were born, sorry for hitting the camera, the overall energy when you were born was about this current, was about renewal, was about a new vision. You could have been a miracle baby for someone. You could have been maybe your parents didn't know if they could get pregnant and they became pregnant with you. It's for a small group of people. It doesn't have to be. At the time you were born, there could have been, the family could have been going through a real drastic change. There could have been an increase in finances, a decrease in finances. Around the time you were born, there could have been, the family could have gotten into religion even and found some kind of salvation, you know, through a spiritual practice of some sort. So this river could represent those things. It could have also just represented that your family made some changes that really stabilized their life. It could have been even just giving birth to you could have been a stabilizing force in the family. So that's a possibility of the energies that were taking place at the time that you were born. Now, the past life is so interesting. It says current lifetime, group number 3. I think with Also, this is about, is in a past life, there were just so many lessons that were learned over a span of different times that really are contributing. You have a past, it's almost as if a lot of your past lives have culminated to make the current life that you're in. It's almost like there's a sense of different parts of your past life contributing to the overall life you're experiencing now. In fact, there's just different ways in which you express yourself that's rooted in different past lives. It seems like there's just not one, that you're utilizing the energy of several past lives in this current lifetime. And I think you could have been called, even as a young person, an old soul, group number 3. Family members might have saw in you ancestors that they once knew. There was something kind of like just older about you, even as a child. You might have been interested in more adult things. You might have even been, going back to that miracle child, you might have been the only child, and so you were surrounded by a lot of adult energy. You probably didn't relate that well to your peers because you were so used to being in spaces where there were only adults. Take it where it resonates, but that could have been something there. How this relates to an issue you may want to resolve, I'm kind of getting here that Spirit is just saying there's a certain kind of comfort zone that you've been dealing with in terms of your past lives, and it may be that in this life you want to push out of that comfort zone. You want to push beyond what you already know, which is quite a lot, being an old soul. But Spirit is saying there's something else here for you in this birth contract. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come back. So there is something here, but I'm hearing intuitively it's out of your comfort zone. Who is your spirit team? I like the spirit team, group number 3. It's like a very interesting eclectic group. You got Archangel Michael, which came in another group. Again, this Archangel Michael, number 1, even, is speaking to the self. Really staying true to who you are. Archangel Michael also has to do with protection and clarity. There's a sense of like Archangel Michael coming through as an equalizer for you. That's what I'm hearing intuitively. There may be a sense of you facing some kind of adversity. I don't know why I'm tapping into that. And Archangel Michael coming through and just providing the sword in a certain situation, your divine protection. There's something that throughout your, even I'm getting drawn back into that past life card, even group number 3, is there's been divine protection that's followed you throughout these lifetimes, and I think that's Archangel Michael. To be more clear, Archangel Michael has traveled with you for quite some lifetimes. That's what I'm hearing. So Goddess Lakshmi, Indian goddess, again, there's this beauty, this fortune. I kind of link this with the Empress energy. Regardless of your gender, there's this essence of beauty and fortune and prosperity. I mean, group number 3, a lot of people think you look expensive. Even if you're not even trying, a lot of people will think in their head, I don't know if I can afford group number 3. There's something really put together about you. You could have some Virgo really prominent, or Taurus, or even Libra. There's something about the way you carry yourself. You're one of these people, even when you're casual, you look expensive. You look put together. This goddess Lakshmi, there's just a lot of energy around you, very attractive. And sometimes not even in conventional senses. People can't even say sometimes why they're drawn towards you, group number 3. There's an essence in you. She holds Lakshmi holds this lotus flower. Some of you may have emerged later in life as your most beautiful, handsome, sensual self. You may have emerged from a situation where you really had to grow into that. The lotus blooms from the muddy waters. There may have been earlier in your life some kind of situation that felt shadowy over you, and when you healed from that, when you emerged from that, it could have been just some work you were doing on healing yourself. You really bloomed into this beautiful lotus. I mean, quite literally, that's how people would describe you. Just someone, the essence of pure beauty, handsomeness. You have Horus here, the Egyptian Kemetic deity. I think with Horus here, there is a certain way in which you are so strong. I mean, there's a certain kind of sacredness to your strength. You really are clear about your intentions. You're an intentional person. That's what Spirit is saying. You don't do things haphazardly. You're a little bit planned. Some people could consider it controlling, but I think that you do it in such a way where there's a lot of clear seeing. Some of you are clairvoyant. You can see the steps that need to be taken before other people do. Other people may not see so far ahead as you do, group number 3. And so there's a way in which they wonder if you could loosen up, if you could lose control of things. But, the Empress has already been through the rodeo. The Empress already sees the path. And I think there's a balance here, and maybe that is also going to come up. We'll see in your birth contract that there might be a balance where you could learn more. There's something maybe that you've got to learn. But again, I feel like your old souls, you might have been a sage, a guru in another life. You've got miles on you in terms of your wisdom, group number 3. Again, that old soul coming through. Horus might have even been in a past life, in several past lives. Because I'm looking at both of these, goddess and this god, you may have been a devotee of both of these, a devotee of goddess Lakshmi and a devotee of Horus. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have been a priest, priestess, some religious person who worked with these complete deities. And also, like I said, Archangel Michael has followed you throughout lifetimes. There's a very close relationship here. I think you find that you are divinely protected, sometimes in really spooky ways. Like, you might get a message no one else gets to not go somewhere, and later you hear something happened that just would have not been as safe for you. So there's ways in just which you're so divinely watched over, group number 3. So let's go to the characteristics that you were born with, the gifts that you have in this life. group number 3. You know what's really interesting is you have this blank card here, which I always take as we don't need to know. Or there's something that spirit is just like, you're not going to know all of it. There, and it really does connect to what I just said earlier, that Empress energy, your old soul kind of energy of already been through the rodeo, done it all. There's something here where spirit is just like, I'm going to leave this blank because spirit wants you to dive, group number 3, more into a spontaneous relationship with life, because you have so much of that wisdom, of that, because you're so grounded in several lifetimes. Spirit is giving and making space for mystery in your life, for spontaneity, and wants you to exercise that energy a little bit more, group number 3. You've also got the trickster here. In its light attribute, it's transcending convention, stuffiness, and predictable. Look at that, predictable behavior. That is another thing. I think this is where spirit wants you to drop in deep. That trickster energy. Stop being so predictable. Stop being so contained with those around you. There's something that, and I'm getting, this is on different levels. Some of you may have already tapped into that trickster energy. Others of you are recognizing that there's a certain aspect of your life that can be too controlled, too predictable. And in that sense, you may be, I hate to even mention that word, bored with your life. The Empress has everything. There's no gift that you can give her that she doesn't have already. People find it hard probably to shop for you on birthdays, to give you gifts, because you quite literally are that person, group number 3, that has everything. And so there's something about this trickster energy that could really help you renew some of your relationships. It could help revive a business that you're in that needs a little bit more energy or juice. Even a relationship that's kind of, it's good, but there's just no excitement there. There's a sense of you needing to kind of add some mystery, spontaneity, turn things on their head a little bit, get people out of their complacency, even if that's yourself, group number 3. So the last characteristic that you've been born with that's truly a gift is damsel. Understanding the nature of healthy romance inspires you to rely on yourself. That's what I'm getting here. Like, this might be just for a few of you. There's a romantic relationship, if you are in one, that feels a little ho-hum. Whether you're married or in a long-term relationship, there's a way in which you've just gotten used to each other, and there doesn't seem to be any pizzazz in the relationship. And spirit, this could just be for a small group of you, but if you are in that relationship, maybe you all don't even have sexy time anymore. Like, there's something about you all needing to revive things, get in that river and get into a current and see where it takes you. Get out of knowing so much. Sometimes that control, that containment is really an expression of anxiety, because you don't want to lose control. You don't want things to go chaotic. There's a little bit of a fear there. So group number 3, I think you're starting to, an attribute that if you really tapped into it, could allow for you to see how you could shift your relationships so that they're more fulfilling, more healthy. And you may be doing that already. Sorry, I keep hitting this camera. Okay, so the shadow work. The lantern here, it represents crone energy in this deck. It says consciousness is light. The crone is a part of this trinity, right? You have the maiden, the mother, and the crone. When you get to crone, it's more of a maturity in your life. And this crone is holding a couple of lanterns, right? Shedding light, but also blindfolded. So it's kind of giving here that what you're seeing is from your internal sight, trusting your internal wisdom, allowing for things to operate on the more symbolic, unconscious level. Could also be that place where you surrender logic, you surrender doing things in a linear way, and tapping more into the energy of the crone. The crone operates mainly in darkness, but creates their own light, creates their own inner wisdom. Their inner wisdom is not coming from the eyes, it's coming from the inside, coming from the tools of the crone, in this case, the lantern. There's a lot of curiosity that comes with the crone energy. Like, instead of saying, oh, this thing went wrong, I wonder what the lesson of that was. That's kind of like crone energy. Deep observation, deep curiosity. And again, Spirit is pointing out, like, when it even comes to your relationships, instead of assuming you already know why somebody did something, to get more curious with your partner, to understand them more, to ask them things about themselves, new discoveries they may have made, or giving opportunities for new discoveries that you share about yourself, group number 3. What is the earthly medicine that's here to assist you? Group number 3, elder, wisdom. It's so interesting that you got elder, because I believe you already have so much wisdom. Group number 3, you were just born with it. It's like it comes naturally to you. But there's also something about the elder as a tree that represents transformation. You know, like in the Bible, Jesus was actually crucified with the wood of an elder tree. Elder has also been used traditionally to protect from magic. But also it's been used as a cleanser for the kidney, for the livers, for the blood, in terms of purification. It has qualities of Jupiter and Pluto. So there's something like a death-like transformation when it comes to the wisdom of the elder. It's a wise guardian. And I think the way that you want to use this in life is to use your wisdom in that way, as a tool for transformation, group number 3, not a tool to predict or control the outcome, but a tool for transformation. Like, how can I use this wisdom in a way that I'm evoking curiosity? I'm helping others to learn about themselves instead of telling them who they are. Instead of telling others who I am, let me use that trickster energy to let them figure out who I am. There's a great shift here in how you're using wisdom in your life in this new birth contract, group number 3. Spirit wants you to discover something that hasn't been discovered over those last lifetimes that you have been living. Let's go to the tarot. Because with the tarot, we're going to ask just in general. I almost lost control of these tarot cards. Um, we're going to ask, what is it that you currently need to know? The Devil. Ooh, this card wanted to come out. 10 of Swords. It did come out reverse, and Spirit is saying, yeah, leave it reversed. And let's get one more card here. 2 of Swords. Upright. Yeah. You know, we can get into habits. The devil sometimes is about habits that we get into. Habits that we can't let go of because we are so addicted to the outcome. I'm seeing here, group number 3, that I think when challenging things happen, or maybe in the past if you were betrayed, you shape your life after that to avoid anything that resembles that same situation. And I understand that's like a adaptation, a response to maybe something traumatic happening. But what it really does is it takes you away from your intuition. It doesn't allow you to exercise that anymore. And I get that birth contract is saying that that's really one of your gifts. Your intuition, your ability to be in the moment without any guardrails. You know what I mean? And I think this life that you've built has a lot of guardrails. It's a lot of safety mechanisms. And what it's done is it's dulled your inner senses, your intuition. And Spirit is saying you have so much power. You're divinely protected. It's almost as if you're doing Archangel Michael's job for them. I'm hearing that. And Archangel Michael's like, I got you covered. I got you covered. Why don't you go out and live this life? The Empress has the ability to do anything that this energy wants. I mean, some of you are in the position to retire early, maybe. Some of you are in the position to take off for a month, take a gap year. I mean, it depends. It doesn't really matter on your age. There's this sense that you're so well prepared in your life that you've built up all the coffers, the grants, you got the grants, the scholarships. You know, this is a range of ages. The career is just on autopilot. There's a way in which you could seek out a new adventure, group number 3. And I really truthfully think that's what you are being led to do. Like, Spirit's like, there's another experience in life that we want you to have to fulfill this birth contract. Anything else, Spirit? Anything else, Spirit? I mean, it's really been quite clear. And I mean, in terms of when to do this or how to do this, Spirit is just saying the sooner that you do this, the more action that you take to kind of shift some things, you're going to find that puts you, I mean, I hate to even say it because I framed the Empress as just the end all be all, but the Empress could go to the star. It could really revive your life. It's kind of interesting because this energy, like the Empress and the star, it's and that Knight of Swords, because that Knight of Swords is like the action. When you take that action and the Empress actually becomes the star again, it's giving me those vibes of like an artist when they come back. You know what I mean? Like somebody who retired for a little bit and then all of a sudden they're on the big screen again, or they're doing concerts again. It's that kind of revival energy where you have a new creative outlet, you're producing something new. That's the kind of energy it's giving me, group number 3. Like when you tap into this new birth contract energy, because I think your birth contract is saying you have several iterations of success in this lifetime because you've had it in other lifetimes. Look at that, King of Cups. For some of you, this isn't an actual person. Some of you may have said, as an Empress, you may have said, I've already been married a couple of times, I'm done. Or I've had a few serious relationships, I'm done. This is more of the mature Empress. But I gotta say, there may be, for some of you, a King of Cups coming your way. Someone who's gonna offer you a cup and you're like, okay, I just really don't think I have any interest in another relationship. And I think this is gonna be someone who possibly, group number 3, turns you around. At the bottom of the deck is the Judgment. If you ask me, I think it's your ancestors that are like, this blank card might be, I'm just intuiting, I'm not saying it is. It might be this new relationship. There's something that Spirit wants for you. There's a gift here. There's an ancestral gift here that you'll need to decide on. It may be a new relationship that comes in and challenges your containment, challenges your control. And it's so interesting because it produces the Sun. Look at that. And look at that. You all 2 of Cups. I'm not lying here. Not that I would ever lie to you, group number 3. But look at that. I think you have some of you, maybe many of you, have a relationship coming in. Something that is going to take you by surprise. It's not on your calendar. And this relationship, someone's offering you a cup. And I think you're going to offer them a cup back. Maybe that's been this whole thing. Because look at that. Knight of the Cups is on the bottom. Page of Cups is on the bottom. And here, because this was so at the bottom of the deck, 7 of Swords, I really, really feel like that's the thing that you need to heal from. Group number 3, if it's an issue, which is the issue of betrayal. That was so deep on the bottom, but you've got so many offerings of love here. And it's like, Spirit is like, take it up. Get in the sun. Enjoy this life. Ancestors are offering this to you. This King of Cups here. I like it. I'm smiling because that is, I really feel like that's what Spirit wants for you. Oh, so the closing message. Look at that. Soul tree. This could be someone definitely who's part of your soul tribe. Someone that, I kind of get this as the tree of life. Someone that you're going to really, it's a different version of this empresshood that you're about ready to have. There's growth here with this person. This person's going to teach you different things, new things about yourself. Take you on a different adventure, especially emotionally. This person's very emotionally available and mature. Kind of good looking too. Very good looking. They might be a Pisces. They might be a Pisces, or has a little bit about that energy. Very gorgeous hair. Very like, I don't know, someone in their masculine energy that has like curly hair. Like, there's something about their hair that's, whether it's curly kinky or curly curly, it's long. It's got that whole like look. This person wears a crown. The spirit's bringing my attention to that. This is someone who has some kind of status. You know, a King of Cups and the Empress, sometimes some people will say, can a King of Cups hold an Empress energy, attention like that? And I would say yes. Because often what's not said about the Emperor, because some people will say, oh, the natural counterpart to an Empress is the Emperor. But the Emperor isn't always emotionally available, especially not to be a mirror for you to learn something new about yourself, like emotionally. The Emperor already expected that you've done that work and they don't need to show up that way. Whereas a King of Cups, there's just something there about this person that makes it easy, like a Sunday morning. I'm hearing the Commodores. Okay, I'm about ready to go. I really love this person's energy. It's coming through. Very nice, very easygoing, but also just challenging just enough in that emotional arena to get the Empress to think about herself in a little different way. And again, regardless of gender, but to think about yourself in a different way. Okay, group number 3. If you resonated with any part of this reading, can you please put a comment below? Can you please consider subscribing to my channel? I really want to work up to 1,000 subscriptions or more. You know, I don't want to limit my own prosperity, so I could start doing lives. I would love to be able to do that on YouTube. But of course, thumbs up if you really did like the reading. And I appreciate you all so much for watching these readings, for continuing to support me. I look forward to future readings, and I want you all to take care. Okay, peace.